There's no point in being part of something that you don't feel fits you. You don't need to be influenced into some kind of lifestyle that you have no interest in. Just because someone is doing it a certain way doesn't mean it's the only way, and it doesn't mean that you have to do it that way. There are lots of different ways that you can choose to go abroad and live abroad that will only make sense for you. And trying to fit some kind of weird, not even real version of like living abroad, that's not necessary. Hi, I'm Heather. My business is Red Ibis Coaching, and I'm going to tell you today about how there's no reason to be influenced in a certain direction. If you want to live abroad, it really makes sense to do it the way that works for you. So, I'm going to start with telling you a story. The first time I ever went abroad, I went to Osaka, Japan. It was 2005. I was 20 years old. I had never left my state, let alone my city, by myself. Um, and we got there at night. So they took us to our dorm. My roommate in my dorm hadn't arrived in Japan yet. It was the start of the semester. So they showed me to my room. I took a shower, laid down in the futon, and just was like, this feels is this the right thing for me? I just did all this, but like it feels a little bit empty and isolated right now. But literally, I went to sleep, and the next day it was like the world opened up because everyone was awake. So there's lots of stuff going on in the dorm. I was being introduced to people left and right. They were just introducing themselves to me. I didn't know where anything was, and not the grocery store, not anything, because this was 2005. You couldn't just like look at Google Maps and figure out what to do. So I'm talking to all these new people in the dorm. On the top floor was the women's part of the dorm, and the bottom floor was the men's part of the dorm. So I'm just up with the ladies in the kitchen, and I figured out that the grocery store was down the street, and they like walked and showed us, and I met, a lot of people that day, and everything changed. And all it took was sleeping through one day of discomfort, one night of discomfort. I was so lucky. I didn't really have to wait for things to click and come together. It was like one sleep, and then everything changed. Nothing was ever the same for me after that day, because those 4 months, it was just 4 months, just one semester in Japan. I met people from all over the world, from different countries in Africa, from Australia, from Canada, from a lot of places in Europe. And I learned a lot because of that. You learn very quickly that you're bad at geography as an American, a US American. And you learn, yeah, all kinds of stuff when you're just hanging out with your peers. So, um, I don't even know. Like, I can't even remember some of like how things came together. My cat is going crazy, but they just did. Like, we all had bikes that we rode around and borrowed from each other and stuff. And people from the previous semester who were still there could like show us how to figure out how to like walk to the train station, which was not close, um, and some buses and stuff like that. So yeah, it was awesome. It was like I just can't even describe how like life affirming it was, how interesting every day was. And to be honest, that study abroad semester I wasn't a very good student because the social life was so distracting, even for me as an introvert, that I didn't do all of the schoolwork that I should have been doing. And so the next time I went to Japan, I realized that even though I majored in Japanese, I still had a long way to go to really get my Japanese to a good level. So yeah. If you've never been abroad before and you end up in a place that's a really good fit for you, you will just be enamored. Your honeymoon phase will be like levitating. It'll be euphoric. But also keep in mind that not everybody's first time abroad is magical. And my other times abroad have been tough. Like, so I've lived in Japan 3 times, but I've also lived in Australia. I lived in Australia for almost 3 years, like well over 2.5 years. And that didn't fit me very well. I fortunately accomplished what I set out to accomplish, which was to get 2 education degrees, which I did that. I also worked, and I mean, I got my teaching license after I got my degrees. So I had my teaching license in Australia. I had a partner who I actually met when I was studying abroad. So we had a 5-year relationship, but Australia still didn't fit me. And the relationship didn't last for reasons that are not necessarily connected to the fact that Australia didn't fit me, but he really wasn't very supportive, I guess, or like I don't know what the word is. I guess just like he didn't get it. He didn't understand why it didn't fit me, and it it was like just a bummer. That's okay. Not all things need to last. So like that's another thing to think about. You can think about it like a relationship. There can be a really good period of the relationship, but sometimes it's not meant to last forever, and that can happen with countries too. What's important is to try a country, have a plan, and have a plan B. So, like, you can say to yourself, I really want this particular country to work out. I have these ideas for what I want to try, where I want to live, and stuff like that. But then if it doesn't work out, I have another option. I've made a decision about another place I would like to go. And that will take some of the pressure off you to just like force yourself to make it work if you're really unhappy. So I did not have that plan B when I went to Australia. So like I did have a little bit of like, wow, I'm an adult, but I have my 5-year plan for my adulthood as a freshly graduated person, but this is not working for me and I need to leave. And I'm not sure what I want to do. But luckily, Japan, my love, was available for me to try again. So I actually ended up teaching in Japan after I graduated, after I was doing, it's called casual relief teaching in Australia, it's substitute teaching. So that worked really well for me. So I went back to Japan again. And anyway, what the point is that I'm seeing now, because these things weren't available to me in 2005 or even 2010, which is here's some kind of idealized version of a country. Here's how someone is like promoting a certain lifestyle in that country. And here's a little pressure for you to try to do the same thing. That, I would say, if you can minimize that projection onto the person and just take the information, you'll be better off because it's really individual. Each person will experience a country differently. And so knowing that will help you set realistic expectations and help you adjust slowly. Because there is a transition period, some longer than others, where you're just trying to find your footing. And during that time, you can really think like, have I made a mistake? And feel like you're in over your head, and it takes a little time to calibrate, and that's normal. But if you're watching somebody like sitting at a beach sipping a Mai Tai and like just showing you that like beach life is the way, like if you move to this particular country, it's going to be beach life all day. Or like if you move to this other country, it's going to be like, I don't know, haggling over fish at a market. Or like riding a motorbike or a moped or something in a busy, bustling city, or living in like a really luxurious looking apartment that overlooks like a city view. If these things aren't things you're interested in, then trying to make yourself fit that just because that's what you've seen and that's all you have like envisioned is possible for yourself, you're not, it's like trying to live somebody else's dream. Your only option is to live your own dream and see if that dream actually works in reality. And if it does, awesome. If it doesn't, you have a plan B. You get to try something else. It doesn't mean you failed. It is always just an experiment. It's kind of like taking a medication. This medication might work for most people, but for some people it gives them hives, or for some people they lose their sense of smell. Like, it's good to notice that that's data and that matters for you and you alone. So like one person got clearer skin using this skincare product, but you broke out. That means it's not for you, and that's okay, and that's data. And all you can do is take that data and say, what's next? And be a little bit open to the idea that you might want to try again. And if you're in a place like Europe, it's a lot easier to go from one country to another. But even in Asia, it's easy to go from one country to another. Even in the continent of Africa, going from one country to another. Even Central and South America, going from one country to another because of proximity. I just see a lot of influencing happening for these countries and like promoting this slightly superiority complex type of thinking where it's like, well, if you want to be as good as me, then you're going to do this when you get to this country. You can't you can't try to do that. What you can do is get a good base of like, how do I, what's the transport like? What's the healthcare like? What do I need to do to fulfill the requirements of the visa that I'm thinking about? Where will I live? If I'm taking a pet, how will I make sure that like there's pet friendly housing? Hopefully trying to eventually talk to someone who is either on the ground or has lived there before. That can help a lot because then you can ask them questions. But again, unless you go there and you live there for a while, you won't know for sure. And that, again, is okay. But the biggest thing that you want to be aware of is that you need to be okay with the fact that it might not work for you, or the fact that, like, whatever you're trying might just need to shift. So, like, maybe one city doesn't work for you and another one does. So, also, exploring that country when you can and as much as you can will help you understand if it's really not right for you, or if it's like a city situation that's not right for you, or a town situation. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. You are a unique individual. Even if you are similar to other people, um, how something works for you or fits you is unique to you. And that's something that I can say with certainty because I am one for three in countries that have worked well for me. I have visited other countries, so like I visited Iceland and South Korea, and those places were cool. But like I've lived in Ireland and I've lived in Australia, and neither of those were my correct place. And I felt it pretty early on. And that's okay. But I do know Japan is a good fit for me. And I am certain that there are other countries that are a good fit for me. But when you're a slow traveler, it will take a long time for you to collect this data because you'll be in one country for a long time and then you move to another country for a while. We're talking like 6 months to a year at least to say, this works or it doesn't. And that is okay. It's not something to panic about, and it doesn't necessarily have to cost you a lot of money to move from one place to the next. It's just a matter of anticipating, having a little bit of a savings cushion, not a lot, just enough, and understanding how something feels in your body and using that as data as well. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.